Thank you, Samuel, for another passionate defense of your position. But again, you have not presented evidence to substantiate your case. And I'm glad that you have accepted Ahmad bin Hanbal stood for the truth. Truth as Muslims see it, not of course as Christians see it. Ahmad Didat didn't know the Greek language. Samuel is absolutely right. Ahmad Didat didn't know the Greek language, and I did not refer to Ahmad Didat once as my source. No, I was referring to Christian scholars translating the New Testament, such as the New Testament and American translation, Edgar Goodspeed and J.M. Powys Smith, the University of Chicago. They translate the verse as follows: in the beginning the Word existed, the Word was with God, and the Word was divine with lowercase d. Then we come to the Dictionary of the Bible by John Mackenzie. The translation is, but in fact he states in John 1:1, John 1:1 should rigorously be translated, the Word was with the God, capital G, and the Word was a divine being with lowercase d. I'm sure these people knew the Greek language because they're translating the Bible from the Greek language. So Ahmad Didat was not my source. Just wanted to make that point very quickly. Now, the next point is 5th century Chalcedonian and Chalcedonian Creed and the Chalcedonian Council. Samuel actually agreed with me when he came back and he said, yes, it took Christians 5 centuries to get to that point, that Jesus has two natures. So what about those Christians for 5 centuries, those who were working the fields and those who were bricklayers or those who were, all those poor Christians throughout the Christian world for those 5 centuries? What about their salvation? They had the wrong view of Jesus Christ. If they believe Jesus only has human nature and he is not God with capital G, what's going to happen to those Christians? It's a very important question. And if they had salvation, which was the safer position to hold, then I invite all the Christians to have the same view, to stand on safer grounds. Because the ground Samuel is debating for, that Jesus is God with capital G, is a very controversial ground. It is a very, very unsafe position to hold. And you are in danger of blaspheming if Jesus is not God. If he's not God with capital G, you are actually blaspheming, making him God who is not God. So, Tawheed differences. But show me one Muslim scholar or one Muslim example from the entire history of Islam where anyone argued that Muhammad is God or one of the messengers of God was God. We never had these issues. It is the Christian history where some people use the Greek philosophy to turn Jesus from a God from lowercase g, which was a biblical position for many other people, as I have stated clearly, Moses, the Israelites. Some Greek philosophers, Greek thinkers, they turned Jesus into a God with capital G. That was the Greek philosophy that did to Jesus, not Jesus. Jesus never said, I'm God. It took Christians 4 centuries to make him God, equal to God the Father. And that's where my next point comes. Polycarp, Ignatius, Samuel attempted to quote them. He didn't have the time, and he said another 8 or 9 church fathers he had. But he did not listen to my question carefully. I know what Polycarp wrote. I know what Ignatius and Irenaeus and Tertullian and Hippolytus, I will name them. Samuel didn't name them. I know what they wrote. I know they said Jesus was divine in some sense. My question was, show me one of them in the first 3 centuries who said Jesus is God with capital G, equal to God the Father. One statement. You'd have nothing in the New Testament. It is clear so far. In the debate, it's been clear so far. There's nothing in the New Testament. For that reason, the early church fathers did not hold that position. If they believed Jesus was divine in some shape or form because of reading passages like John 1:1, show me one of them who said Jesus was God with capital G, equal to God the Father. I am saying all of them were subordinationists. They held this view that Jesus was a subordinate being to God the Father. He was made by God the Father from his own essence, therefore he was divine in a lesser sense. So they believe God the Father is the supreme God. Jesus was God in lesser sense with small or lowercase d or g. This is what they held. This is the position. I repeat my question again. Come back and show us one church father who clearly stated that Jesus is equal to God the Father, the position you stated in the 4th century. In the first 3 centuries, this position does not exist. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Adnan. I'll invite Samuel to come forward and present his final rebuttal.
All right, thank you, Adnan. You brought up the translation. I'll bring it up again. The idea of the accusative does not mean a lowercase god. That's just the Greek grammar. And so you can quote various scholars saying you could read it this way, you could read it that way, but that is an interpretation that they're giving. I'm simply saying that if you read it as it stands in John chapter 1, it says that this ton theon, this God, created all things, gives life to all things. That's the God we're talking about, which is the God that created everything, that rules everything, that gives life to everything. Well, that's the one God. And so we just need to read that in its context. I want to call you out on your technique here, your debating technique, because you've been taunting me with, show me one church father that says this, show me one that says that. You actually haven't given any evidence for any church father, right? So you're saying they all say this. Where? Like I haven't got anything to work with. I'm telling you the articles that you can go and look at. I'm not going to try to quote them all now because you can hop online and you can look at what the early church fathers say, but they are definitely calling Jesus the creator. They're calling him the Lord. And the creator and the Lord puts him into the identity of the one true God. Now, in terms of it taking 4 centuries for Christians to work things out, I want to say yes, but you said, but show me one Muslim that ever said that Muhammad was God. Well, that's not the issue. Tawheed is the beauty of Islam. Tawheed is the assurance of Islam. And so the fact that you're actually discussing what Tawheed is and you still haven't figured out how to have a definition of it actually is important. It is important. That's sort of your parallel. For us, who Jesus is important. For you, what Tawheed is important. I don't care if anyone said Muhammad was God or not. That's not your issue. The fact is you haven't got a definition of Tawheed yet. You still don't have one that you agree on. Now, let me continue with some of these other things here. I want to go back to where Jesus is saying he's God, because he was doing these things. So, I put up Jesus forgiving people, calming the storm, his presence convicting people of sin, and you said, why didn't he just say it? Well, sometimes he did say it. As I said, when he was on trial, they said to him, are you the Son of God? And he said, yes, I am. So he did say it. He was upfront, clear about it. And he said, I'm the one that you will bow down and worship. And that's what got him crucified. So he does say it. But other times, he doesn't say it. Other times, he just does the works of God. And as I said, the parallel I drew was when we look at creation, it doesn't speak always. So creation doesn't speak, but it declares the works of God. And so Jesus sometimes speaks and talks about his relationship to the Father and and that he is the divine Son and that you will worship him. Sometimes he says that, but sometimes he forgives people. And he doesn't do it in the name of God, I do it. He just does it because he just does it. He calms the storm. He doesn't pray to God and say, God, please calm this storm. He just gets up and says the word. And so when you look at what Jesus does, he does things in the way that God does things. And so again, I guess I just want to encourage people to come down, grab a gospel account yourself, and just encounter Jesus yourself. Just read the gospel for yourself and come to your own decision. Now, let me see what other points have I got here. Run out of points here. Okay, let's have a look at this one here, which I had in John 5 for the last minute. We see that Jesus, in John chapter 5, verse 17, Jesus responded to them, my Father is still working, and I also am working. So they're saying to him, why don't you take the Sabbath off? And Jesus says, well, I work like God works. God's always at work. I don't take the Sabbath. I work like God. And they're saying, hang on, Well, what do they say? They say, this is why the Jews began trying to kill him all the more. Not only was he breaking the Sabbath, but he was even calling God his own Father, making himself equal to God. And as you read through it, we see, just as the Father raises the dead and gives life to them, so the Son also gives life to whom he wills. The Father, in fact, judges no one, but has given all judgment to the Son, so that all people may honour the Son just as they honour the Father. Anyone who does not honour the Son does not honour the Father who sent him. And so I will finish there. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, Adnan. Now is our opportunity to ask questions.
All right, the first question is for Adnan. Based off what you said before, Adnan, are you saying that means humans can create by the permission of God?
Thank you for that question. Based upon what I said earlier, am I saying that humans can create with the permission of God? Absolutely. This is what I'm saying. We create every single day. We have created mobile phones. We create jets flying around the world. We create spaceships. We create Donald Trump. Well, I mean, obviously Donald Trump's parents created him, right? And by the permission of God, right? By coming together. So that doesn't mean I meant to say anything good or bad about Donald Trump. We pray for him. May God guide him. So this is what I'm saying, absolutely. By the permission of God, prophets do miracles. They do miracles. Prophets do miracles. What Jesus did, he made a bird out of clay and blew into it, and it became alive. That was a miracle given to him by God. And if anything, ladies and gentlemen, you should see the value of Jesus we have in our hearts. We the Muslims, we love him daily as one of our greatest prophets. The Quran glorifies him. The Quran glorifies his mother to an extent that there is an entire chapter named after her. Mary, there is nothing about Prophet Muhammad's mother in the Quran. Nothing, not even a sentence. But the mother of Jesus is there. An entire chapter for Mary to defend her honor, to paint her, to depict her as one of the greatest women who lived in human history. Why would an Arab praise the mother of a Jewish prophet? Because she was a great woman. She had to be defended. And this was prophesied by Jesus Christ in the Gospel of John. We are told in chapter 16 that Jesus said, that advocate who will come after me, he will glorify me. He will tell you things I haven't told you. So this was a prophecy in the Gospel of John, which was fulfilled in the form of Prophet Muhammad, as we the Muslims believe. And this particular issue is alluded to in the Quran. So that's my answer. Prophets do miracles. I have some time left, I think. 30 seconds. So I think I'll stop here. Thank you.